Searching for complex information. Could you tell me what's specific about these kind of tasks? Aren't all tasks information-based, for instance?
Information-based complex problem solving is about that you solve a task or solve a problem, and in order to solve the problem you have to search for information. Of course there are a lot of problems in which you need information to solve, but in this case those problems requires that you search for information, and most of the time it's not only just fact-finding, but more open, ill-structured problems in which you need to search, and that process is often very demanding.
Now you've mentioned a method to help students with searching information.
When you solve those kind of problems, what we also found in research is that people go through a certain process and take certain steps to solve those problems. And the first important step is that people define this research questions or questions, search questions, and it's important to really define them, not too broad, because then you get lost on the internet, for instance, but also not too specific, because then you also don't find the information you need. Then you have to ask yourself the question, okay, this is my question, but how do I go to search? Do I go to internet? Do I go to the library and search for information? Or do I have a neighbor who is expert, so I can ask him the information? So you need to have a search strategy. Make sure, okay, is this the information I need? Is it trustworthy? Who is the author? Who is the organization behind the site? The last step, to integrate all the information and come up with the product. Define the problem, search, scan the information, process it and integrate it and come up with a product. Those are the 5 steps that are very important. And beside that, it's also important that you constantly ask yourself the question when searching, okay, am I in the right direction? Do I find the right information? Do I have the right search terms, etc.?
Saskia, could you provide me some examples of research that can really be valorized, implemented in daily life?
One of our research topics concerns how students evaluate and judge the information found on the internet, because there's a lot of information and it's growing. What we did in our research was try to find out what kind of criteria students use when judging the information, and eventually what we did was try to teach those students secondary education to use those criteria.
You just mentioned that structuring information is pretty tough. What could be a concrete instrument for structuring this information?
Yeah, what we did in our research, for instance with secondary education, is made material for history classes and embedded instruction in information problem solving in the material of history, process worksheets. And you can say, okay, process worksheets is okay, that you give students the steps and let them write down how they proceed through those steps. So those worksheets are also available for other teachers and could be used by other teachers.
A common misunderstanding. Sometimes people think information searching goes on in a certain way, but it might not be true.
An urban legend is, for instance, that we ask students, okay, how good are you in information problem solving? And in using the internet for searching for information. And almost all students say, oh, I'm quite good in it because I Google 3 hours a day. And also when you ask teachers how good are students in information problem solving, they say, yeah, better than me, because they sit behind the computer every day. Novices don't organize their information. They go through the information and say, okay, that's important, maybe I can use it, and go back, and then after a while they will say, oh yeah, I just read it. Oh, where? And they don't know anymore and can't find it anymore. So how do you find information? And one of the tools that, for instance, can help, and which we are also doing research on now, is social bookmarking. For instance, use Delicious, in which you can store your websites you find important. You give them labels or tags. You can use those tags again and you will find back your information.
What would really be a nice research proposal you would like to carry out when looking into ways people will be searching for information?
There will be a tremendous growth of information, but what we also see is that searching for information will be more intuitive. For instance, when you use an Aqua browser, you search for information and you use a keyword, and then you get a kind of a word cloud in which all the concepts are related to your keyword. So that's one way of searching, especially important when you have less prior knowledge about the topic. And those kind of processes, what happens when we use other kind of tools facilitating the search process? What does it do with our information problem solving process, and how can we in education facilitate those processes to make sure that all students become expert in information problem solving?